it's time to return to a prominent franchise.
Mm-hmm.
One that have we talked about a mainline game in this series
I don't
on
think
this
so.
podcast?
We've talked about a spinoff, but not a main line.
Right. I didn't know if it was like because obviously it would have been you who would have been talking about it.
It would have been, but I don't remember talking about it on the podcast. Maybe I did. Heck, if
when
I know.
did whatchamacallit Fates come
Fates.
out? Pretty sure I just saw a link about it.
Ow, my footages.
Fates came out in 2015, so that definitely predates this podcast.
Okay. Because I probably would have had a lot to say about that one too.
Yeah, and you didn't play Echoes, which is the one that came out
No,
2
I didn't
years
play
ago,
Echoes.
which is the remake of a Famicom or Super Famicom game. So yeah, I guess the only versions we would have talked about are the spin-offs that are good.
Yep. Being Fire Emblem Warriors and Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Correct. So a new entry in the mainline series of the Fire Emblem has hit,
Mm-hmm.
and
it has dropped.
The first console version to drop in like 12 years.
Yeah, the last one was on the Wii.
Yes, indeed. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. This is episode 139. I'm Jared, joined as always by Fire Emblem and tactical expert Doc Allen Ladian.
Hi.
And by that I mean you have played way more Fire Emblem games than me because I've played, let's see here, outside of the spin-offs, I've played the beginning of Awakening like 2 or 3 times, the beginning of one of the Famicom games, and that's it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I've played a lot more than you then.
I don't really... I mean, okay, to be fair, like if you've probably heard me talk about this before on earlier episodes of this podcast, but like I'm not a tactical RPG guy.
Yeah.
Like that is not my jam. But with this, I figured might as well try it. Like we another game we also talked about at one point, Fire Emblem Heroes.
Yes.
That was like the first Fire Emblem game that really kind of contextualized the gameplay of that series for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured like, sure, I'll give this a shot. It's a new thing. It looks all big and fancy and all that stuff. Like
people are
sure.
excited about it.
People are excited about it, and people are very excited about it post-release.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
A lot of people are excited about it. You can't not hear raving reviews and raving thoughts and opinions about this game.
Yep.
So yeah, like and even before it came out, a lot of people were very just like high on it when like early reviews like popped up and everything, and just those directs they showed off of it looked intriguing in a way that the series hadn't really been before, where they're like adding in these like social elements and all that sort of stuff. A lot of people are obviously making the comparison to stuff like Persona and all of that, but yeah, like I obviously don't have a lot of experience with this series or really with this genre in particular. You're the one that more has an experience
both.
because you've played a lot of these games in the past. So we're coming at this with two kind of different mindsets, where I'm just coming in with nothing, and you're kind of coming in with like, I didn't really like Fates, so I hope this is good.
I did not like Fates, and I guess like I hinted at that earlier. I played Birthright and I played Conquest, and then I started on, what was the third one? Who the heck knows? I started it and then I was like, you know what? I'm done. Like I've played so much
Revelation.
I've played so much of the same game at this point, and the same battles with the same people, that I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. So
you were heavily burnt out
by the
time you got to that third game.
And I kind of rage quit.
Yeah.
And never.
Well, what if I told you they basically took that kind of formula and put it all into one game?
They did, and then added a fourth route.
Yep. So I guess we should be forthright and not beat around the bush. We are probably the very lone dissenters in thinking that this isn't a good... Well, I wouldn't necessarily... For me personally, I'm not going to say this isn't a good game or it's not a bad game. Like, it's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not good either.
There are parts to this game that I enjoy. Like, the gameplay is totally competent.
Yeah,
like,
it's very competent.
Very fine. I like these characters.
Some of them.
Sure. For me, where I think it breaks down is that I think a lot of the writing is bad.
It's real bad.
Like I said, like, I think I like these characters, and I really would have liked to see them in a better story.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking on Metacritic to see like how many people were like not into this game, and the answer is not a whole lot.
Right.
But there were just so many points. Like, nobody would make that decision. That's a dumb decision. Who is writing this? Or just like in general, just like, okay, that was a terrible design choice. Why would we do this? Like, not design wise in terms of like gameplay, but like the plot. Or like, I don't know, the terrible backgrounds.
There's a lot of weird technical issues with this game where I believe at one point this game got delayed, I want to say.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to come out earlier this year and then got delayed till summer. But there are a lot of like just weird technical issues with this game where, like you said, like the backgrounds for a lot of just different like cutscenes look absolutely atrocious. Like, they look like really bad compressed JPEGs.
And also the weird like fish islands on them. Like, it's very bizarre. And there's the one place where like if you go to the online area where it just like slows down to a halt, and it's annoying.
So there's a part of the game where you can kind of bring in other folks if you connect online, and like they'll be able to like give you items and whatnot. But when you approach that area, like the game is really definitely like bringing in that data, and the frame rate just tanks.
Yeah.
When you get into that area, even like when you move out of that area, it's right back up. But even then, like, that's such a weird thing to have happen. And also there's a lot of just weird things in general in terms of like maneuvering around the world, the monastery that you're in, where like they give you a sprint button.
Yep.
But the game does not want you to sprint, because if you are sprinting around, the game does not load in properly.
Correct.
Like, you will find people to talk to and they will just have not loaded in. They will just sit, you'll just be talking to nothing until they load in. There will be areas where you have to wait for doors to open. Like, literally, it can take you like 15 seconds to wait for a door to open because you've gotten there too quickly.
I got stuck once in the greenhouse and it would not let me leave.
I did too.
Like, I had warped there, and then I was just stuck. The door would not open, so I had to warp somewhere else and then walk back there.
I eventually waited, and I think it took like 15 to 20 seconds for it to finally open. That's not what it's supposed to be doing?
No, I just kept running at the door, like hoping that it would eventually open. It just never opened. I'm like, okay, well, I guess the game broke.
So yeah, like a lot of this like open, it's not really an open world, but like when you're controlling things outside the battle, like is borderline kind of broken.
Yeah, it's not great.
And combine that with, like we said, like the bad backgrounds and everything, it's kind of a mess, but like it's like halfway a mess. Where like all that stuff is not great, but once you get into battle, everything's totally fine. Like, there's no real frame rate drops. Everything runs pretty smoothly. All the gameplay within battle is a-okay. Like, I have zero complaints about the gameplay in that regard.
Which I will be completely and 100% honest. I turned off every single animation for the gameplay. So like, I didn't have any of the battle animations. I didn't have any of the healing animations. I didn't even have like the enemy's movements show up. I literally just controlled my people, and then like it would do enemy phase and then pop right back to me.
So I had all of that stuff, and it was still fine.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I can't comment on that because I literally turned it all off because it gets tedious for me to watch people just hit each other repeatedly.
Yeah, it's fine.
But they have feet this time.
They have feet.
So that's
But please, Fire Emblem Warriors brought that in first. Let's be real.
That's true. They had feet in Tokyo Mirage Sessions too.
True.
Just saying. Better game.
You're not wrong. So yeah, like I feel like a lot of this game is just like a balance between it basically trying to break apart and all on the other side being a totally competent video game.
Yeah.
And it's very bizarre. Like, I don't know how much of this is just like development issues. Like, there's a quote on this Wikipedia page that says like Intelligent Systems basically said that like development sucked for this game, and like they brought in Koei Tecmo just to help them get through it. So I don't know how much of it is that, how much of it is going from the 3DS to the Switch in terms of, you know, moving up to new hardware and everything, and then just trying to figure out exactly what worked. But it seems so bizarre how much of this game just like wants to literally just break apart.
Mm-hmm.
When that really was never a common complaint of the 3DS games, I want to say.
Nope.
At least not that I've heard per se.
No, I never had issues like that with the 3DS games at all.
Mm-hmm. I think another weird aspect of this game is their whole idea of, you know, supposedly, I guess, kind of using Persona as like a reference point for this new, more socialized system that they're implementing, where, you know, your protagonist is a professor, you're teaching all these kids and everything, and I don't know if it necessarily works.
Okay, well, first off, as somebody who is technically a professor and has been a professor in the past, like, the whole idea that I am a professor in this game and that, like, my potential datables are my students, I'm just like, nope. No. That is inappropriate. That is gross. That is not okay. This irritates me.
They also took that part from Persona 5.
Yeah, fair. But, like, it's gross. And I felt icky the whole time. Legitimately, like, one of the reasons why I picked the person that I did to marry is because he was the oldest person on my squad.
Mm-hmm.
And that was only because I was like going through their ages, and I'm like, okay, you're 16, you're 17, you're 18. Oh, you're 20. Okay, good. You're 20. You're at least an adult. Okay, sure. And like, that's bad.
they basically try and get around it by like, oh, the professor's close in age to us, and then like implementing a time skip and everything to make it seem better, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, that time skip is pointless.
We'll get to that.
Ugh.
But
yeah, they do the time skip to try and make it okay. But at the same time, like, again, as somebody who that's my actual profession, like, no, thank you.
Right. Outside of all of that, though, like, I think a lot of the social elements in general just are kind of not great. They're bland. And especially if you compare it to other like games that have these types of social elements.
It just felt like a chore to do it often.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. I have to go talk to everybody, and like some of them will have things I could do, and like, yay, I could go eat with some of them, and they're gonna comment that this is their favorite meal, even though it's a different meal than last meal I gave them, and that was their favorite meal. Like, all right, sure. I guess I'm gonna do this for like the 50th time now.
It's a lot of just repetitive busy work in a sense. And I feel like in other games where you have these kind of same elements, where you're going around talking to people, like a Persona, like a Trails of Cold Steel, for example, those aren't relatively like just the same monotony over and over again. Like, if you're going to go and talk to someone, you know, you'll get a scene where, you know, it's something different each time, per se.
Right.
And then you're building up that trust and everything. Here, it's just like, you know, if you go to talk to someone, they'll give you like 3 lines, and then you can go invite them to tea, I guess.
Yeah, or like I said, you can. Which the tea parties are weird because they get like the shoujo glitter everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Or sparkle, I guess is a better word for it. But you have to like make conversation with them while you're like, you can zoom in on their face.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's less creepy than the stuff in Fates.
It is less creepy than the petting, but at the same time, like, if somebody like leaned in to look at my chin from underneath me while I'm at a tea party, I'd be like, all right, creeper, like, please go away. I'm never going to associate with you ever again.
And
I don't care that
you
offered me my favorite tea.
And I think as well, like, you know, in those other types of like social games, you're going to have more options for what you want to do with people.
Yeah.
Or be able to like go to other areas, where here you're stuck to the same area. You have like
you can have
3
tea, or you
options
can have a meal
to where you can do stuff with people. Like, there's not a whole lot of variety in that sense. So that makes it kind of a bummer. Like, it really feels like something like the team just like saw like the popularity of stuff like Persona and was like, we should add this into our game, and then did like the most basic form of it.
And again, like it's a little bit different, but like why didn't they look at Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which did that much, much better?
Mm-hmm.
Again, that was Atlas, and like, you know, they have experience with Persona, but at the same time, like, look at that as an example and be like, oh, how do we do that? That's a good game. Maybe the problem is they just don't appreciate it like they should.
It's true. They really should. Before we get into spoiler territory, do you want to talk briefly about your issues with New Game Plus and why you think it's not great?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, New Game Plus in this game is complete and utter garbage. And I was really irritated because I had considered initially, like, oh, you know, maybe I'll play some of the other routes. Maybe that's why I had issues, which we'll talk about in spoilers. Like, maybe it was the route that I picked.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went to do New Game Plus, and it's like, oh, hey, so all that stuff that you just spent building up, like, in order to unlock it again, you're going to have to build up renown and then spend that to get it back. And everything's like stupidly expensive, and you only start with like 5,000 renown. I'm like, what? Like, what's the point of a New Game Plus if you're not going to let me like carry the stuff over?
Like, I get the idea of making it kind of more customizable to what you want, but at the same time, you know, there are other games that do New Game Plus in that same kind of way, but give you kind of more, I guess, limited options, but still a lot of options into like, hey, what do you want to bring into New Game Plus?
I mean, do it like Cold Steel did, where you
Exactly.
get to choose. Like, you can say, you know, oh, I want my levels, or I want my items, or whatever, and like, that's a very customizable New Game Plus experience. So if you want it to be super hard, if you want to start with level 1 again, cool, you can do that. But with this, it's just like, I'm level 1, I have none of my items, my professor level is back to like E. None of the skills that I had built up for anybody carry over. Like, are you serious? Like, you want me to play this game 4 times and you're not going to carry over any of that? Like, no, I'm not doing that every time. That's insane.
And I feel like you could easily kind of rectify that situation if you just added in New Game Plus difficulty scaling. Where, like, obviously it would kind of be a little, like, I guess, more difficult than what I'm imagining, but, you know, because if you're going bouncing from route to route to route, like, you're gonna end up with, you know, a new crew full of like level, how, like, the lowest minimum level whatever.
Level 1.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're probably going to be more readily available to, or readily equipped to recruit other people from other houses immediately. So you could bring over like your old crew and everything and be good to go. And even then, like, just make the missions like scale to your character's level specifically.
Yeah.
So like, you come in out of your original game, and then you start New Game Plus and you're like level 40 per se. You know, the first missions you take are going to be level 40 minimum requirement.
Yeah. But even then, like, what I was thinking when I went in there, I was like, oh, you know, I've built up all these skills. I've built up the professor levels. So it'll be really easy for me to recruit people this time. And like, I'll have a full crew. And it's like, no, you have none of that you worked for. And I'm like, then what's the point? Why did I do all this?
When it's a game that basically, once you get past certain parts of the story, like, punishes you for not recruiting people.
Mm-hmm.
So to make that an element that's like not... Especially because the way it's set up is that you think, you know, the first time through, like, oh, this is difficult because obviously I don't have all these skills and everything. The next time I play through this, like, I'm going to be able to pick and choose whoever I want to recruit. Like, right. It's going to be easy, or I'll be able to work on some of the skills.
It's at least manageable.
It's more manageable than it was the first time through. And with how this seems is that it's basically just the same. And if you want to put more renown into it, like, yeah, you can, but also you're managing your professor level, your skills, also those statues that you probably still didn't finish. You probably want to put more stuff into those,
and you're managing the skills of your comrades as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can bring in like abilities from their classes, but at the same time that also counts, like, takes renown. So like, you literally have to pay for every single thing that you worked for in the last game. And I'm like, no, like it felt like a chore the first time. I'm not doing it again.
That's more New Game Minus than New Game Plus.
It is New Game Minus. Like nothing about that seems legit. Like, okay, cool. Like, why did I put in all that time to try and level these things up for you to be like, oh, but you can buy it again with Renown? Like,
Okay, what if I could offer you this? $9.99. We give you like an accelerator for New Game Plus. It gives you a bunch of items, gives you some levels and everything. Just spend $10 each time you play.
um, no, instead, what they should have done is a Cold Steel style system of New Game Plus is like you can't bring in everything, but you can choose which things you do want to bring in for this many points or whatever.
And especially because like the way Trails of Cold Steel does it is that
the more you play, the more points you
play,
get.
the more you're able to unlock and bring over for subsequent New Game Plus runs.
Mm-hmm.
To where by the time you're going through for like the fourth route or whatever, like you will be very much well equipped for this. Like you would be able to have the gambit of everyone, and obviously you should be able to have the gambit, like have everyone available to you whenever.
With their like master seals and their abilities and all that. Like that should be the case. And the way that they did that was really smart in Cold Steel. To not put that in here was insane. And it like actively discourages people from playing it again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw that and I immediately was just like, no, never mind. Like I had even considered maybe I'll go a different route. Maybe we'll see. And then immediately when I saw that, I was just like, nope, never mind. I'm done. Like took the cartridge out.
I mean, for me as someone like we mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, where I'm not very like experienced with these types of games and everything, this game isn't enough to make me like a fan of this genre per se. Like I appreciate it and I got through it, and I feel like that's a badge of honor on my behalf.
I'm proud of you, buddy.
But at the same time, like there was a lot of times when I was playing this game where I just felt like, all these battles are a chore to get through. And then hearing you talk about how New Game Plus is and just the way they implement it, like immediately I was just like, if I really am interested in seeing these other routes, I'm just going to look them up on YouTube.
Yep.
I'm not going to go through this again.
That's why I decided is that if I need to see them, I'll look them up on YouTube, because there's no way. Like that is not a New Game Plus. It's not.
It's New Game 0.1.
Yeah, I mean, it's like New Game, like, hey, you still have to like do a bunch of grinding and you're not going to get everything still. So
right.
Like you can unlock the stuff that you already had. Like, no. F you. I was so mad. I legitimately was so mad. And I don't know if you could like pick that up last night when I was saying it.
Yeah.
But I was livid. And it's rare that I actually get like angry at a video game. I can get angry at myself because of the way that I'm playing the video game.
Yes.
But it's rare that I actually get mad at the video game itself.
I can think of 2 examples of where you got mad at the video game yourself.
At myself or the video game?
Or at the video game, not yourself.
Okay.
That's multiple.
Which ones? I'm curious.
P5.
P5, yes.
And then Danganronpa V3.
Yes. Those are 2 very good examples. And like, you don't want to be in that category with those games. You don't. Mm-hmm. Like, not with the way that I have like made my opinions well known of those games, that like you do not want to be in that category. And this game made itself in that category by the end of it. I'm like I had to just go and calm myself down last night because I was so
And I think with those games in particular, like they're not like overwhelmingly well received like this is. Like P5 obviously has, its fair share of criticisms and critiques that a lot of people have seen. I think that's kind of the same for V3. Like people don't think it's the same quality as 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this is like the first time maybe, or it's especially a very rare time where the overwhelming populace when it comes to video games like absolutely loves the game, and we are like on the outskirts. It's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Like that's cool that you like it, but like that's not for me.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm stoked that people liked it and that people waited and got what they wanted. Like,
Totally.
I I hated this part of it. Like, I liked certain parts of this game, I really did, and certain characters were cool. But overall, like, my sense of coming away from the game is just like extremely negative.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom told me when she was helping me move. By the way, guys, I bought a house.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. I bought a house. When my mom was helping me move, she said something to me that like I keep thinking about, and then I was thinking about it just now when I was talking about. Um, she's like, you're such a nice person, but you do have a temper on you sometimes, and I think you got that from your dad. And last night when I was like in my rage mode about New Game Plus, I was like, oh God, she's right. Like, I get mad about the weirdest things. But I was legitimately like mad. I was like red in the face. And I legit like did the same thing I did with, I didn't sell it immediately like I did Danganronpa, but like that one I beat it, I took it out of the system, I put it in the box, and I was like, nope, you're done. And I did that with Fire Emblem.
The ultimate sign of disrespect.
You are done, kid. You don't even get to go in the travel like sleeve for the Switch games. You get to go in the box.
Oh man.
It's like the cone of shame, but for video games.
The case of shame.
Case of shame. But yeah, like, I was mad. Like I said, I'm pretty sure you could gauge that from me texting, but like,
totally.
I very much came away from this game having a very negative perspective on it. You can show me all the cute shoujo sparkles and have a dude propose to me and be adorable all you want. But if you're going to pull a stupid New Game Plus and have some really bad narrative decisions, get out. I mean, at least I can get my cute shoujo elsewhere.
You can. At least they took out the weird, like, forcing people together to have kids.
Yeah, that's gross. I'm glad that that's gone.
That's a good thing.
That is
good
a
on
good thing.
Good on you, game. Back of the box. They got rid of the weird.
Like, that's a low bar, though.
It's true.
Like, you're not forcing people to have kids and they're not petting anymore. Like, cool. Good work. Terrible. And you didn't even get like your character in your portrait for your love interest.
I didn't. I just got my love interest looking like she's about to murder me.
She did look like she was about to murder you.
Can I have my ring back? I need to go.
I have to take a shower, like a really long shower. Please.
I gotta go. I gotta leave.
You stay here. You please stay here. Maybe go talk to that guy over there. He's a good person. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. He wants to talk to you. Look at him.
Clearly. Is it the church? I gotta go.
Yeah. Wow. Like, my cell phone's ringing. She's like, oh, you don't even have a cell phone. Cell phones don't exist. No, and my cell phone's ringing. I gotta go. Bye.
It's on vibrate.
Yep. Your non-existent cell phone. Just like, oh man, my mom's calling me. Shoot, I gotta run.
Your mom's dead.
She's calling me from beyond the grave. That makes it even more of an important phone call that I have to take. Please let me go. Also, don't follow me.
I gotta go, please. I gotta go.
So mine was at least cute. Yours was a little murderous.
It's a little murderous, but also like, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, given who you romanced, I can see it.
We did just murder some folks.
Yeah. She's like, oh, thanks for helping me murder people. Also, I'm gonna murder you now. Yay.
Well, should we get into some story bits?
Yeah. We're gonna talk about the story.
We're going to talk about story. We're going to spoil some stuff. Also, the Wikipedia page has like the other routes, so we're going to talk about those to see, compare and contrast to see if those seemed like they would have been any better or not.
Yeah.
So we're gonna dive into everything. So just a fair warning. But we'll call out exactly what we're gonna talk about. So if you've went through a specific route and you want to hear about it, we will at least say, hey, we're talking about this. But if you're skipping through, like you're playing with fire at that point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could like put in timestamps. I don't know.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Well, by a lot of work, I mean that requires me remembering A, to do that, and then B, also to pay attention to what time this did. So we might do that, but also like if you ask, we'll tell you.
Yeah.
I will hunt and peck through to see when things be brought up. So
same.
We will be nice about that. But let's talk about story. Like we said, spoilers, because we're gonna dive into everything.
Yep.
So if you haven't played,
oh, actually, before we do spoilers.
Okay.
Female Bailiff's outfit is garbage.
It's real bad.
It's real bad. Also, like a lot of the women designs in this game are real terrible.
Can I also say that I don't like the protagonist's name? I think it sucks.
Yeah, bailiff is a terrible name.
It's a bad name.
It makes you sound like you're like a bailiff, like for a court. I just don't like it. It's a bad name, but also that outfit's terrible. It is so atrocious. And there are many, many women in this game that I was like, oh, I am so sorry they put you in that. I'm pretty sure, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, and then we can get into spoiler territory, but I don't think anybody on the Fire Emblem team has ever seen an actual boob. They have no idea how they work.
What is this thing on your chest?
Why do you have these giant water balloons just affixed to the front of your chest?
What are they? Hang on, let me get my notes. These Himmer Hummers.
It's not how breasts work. That's not how women's bodies work. It's nothing new in video games, but at the same time, it's still irritating that it is 2019 and this is still what we get.
Mm-hmm.
We get belly button showing and battle outfit and ripped tights for some reason and short shorts and like a teacher with her just him or hammers all flopping about.
Who is very horny on main.
Oh, yeah, she is.
She is the most Nintendo horny on main.
Oh my god. Like even on lady route, she is thirsty.
Let me tell you, on male route, she is dying of thirst.
And I'm like, lady, there's a pond out there you can just shove your head into. It's fine.
She wants that D.
Oof. She's a teacher.
Anyways.
Yep.
Let's dive into some spoilers.
Spoilers now that I have yelled about boobs.
My internet connection is unstable. That's how spoilery we're about to get.
Oh no.
It's the real spoiler territory. All right, so let's begin with the beginning of this story where you get woken up by fake Tiki.
Yeah, you get, and she's like a weird like child, but has like rope bondage on.
It's weird.
It made me really uncomfortable.
Which is where you go through your whole like
Cassandra Lee Morris, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where you go through your whole song and dance of like, are you a boy or a girl? What's your name? All that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually you are kicked out to like an actual story.
Get out of here.
She's like, get the heck out of here, you
I'm
weirdo.
taking a nap.
You're with this dude named Geralt.
Geralt.
And you're going to go rescue some nobles. These are the three main characters of the three houses, obviously. Edelgard, or Edgelord, as we like to call her.
We saw it. We're both like, Edgelord? Oh, wait, that's not what that says.
Dimitri and Claude, they all represent their own various houses. You get to fight with them first thing. You rescue them. And then immediately like, hey, which of us do you think you would like the most?
And like, we panic because we're like, already we have to make this decision? Oh, my God. Which, should we tell everybody how we made our decision on which route we were going to take?
Well, before we get into that,
Okay.
Edelgard is the leader of she's the Black Eagles route. Dimitri is Blue Lions, and then Claude is the Golden Deer.
Mm-hmm.
Edelgard is like her region is the Empire.
Empire, yes.
Uh, Dimitri's is kind of like is a kingdom, is more the traditional Fire Emblem
Yep.
type route, and then Claude's is just like, I'm just in an alliance full folks. We're just doing our thing, and then they make you choose. So we came up with the most scientific method of choosing which house to go through, and that is by what voice actors are in this house.
Yep. That's what we did. It was terrifying because like, which one do we pick? And I'm like, oh God, there's 3 of you. I know nothing about anybody, and I don't know anybody on your squads. We didn't realize that this is not where you actually choose.
It's not, but also that's a terrifying choice to put at you 30 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and it's also terrible to do it because like the game has been advertised as like, oh, choose your house. And so like to make you pick twice and one of them be like a false choice is kind of bad.
And even then, like, it's like not soon afterwards where you actually have to make your choice, where it's just like, oh no, go around, talk to everyone, then just make your choice.
Yeah, like you don't really get to know anybody before you have to make your choice.
So yeah, we went the Black Eagles route because the voice actors on that route was the best out of the 3.
Yep, had some real solid names on there.
So that's how we decided to choose. And then once you make your decision back at the monastery and everything, because you get sent back to this monastery where the kids are. This is called as an officer's academy, and then the leader of the monastery, whose name is Rhea, she is the church's archbishop. Excuse me, is like, hey, you're gonna be a professor here now.
And like,
okay,
Moldy Beard is like, oh, have you thought this through? You maybe should make this person you just met a professor. She's like, no, it's cool, it's fine. Don't even worry about it, Moldy Beard.
You learn that Gerald is your father.
Yeah.
After the fact, and then he's also like, "Hey, don't trust Rhea."
Yeah, he's pretty blatant about that.
Don't trust her.
Like he's like, the church is kind of weird. Like they're very different than when I was here. Also, yeah, I used to be here. I used to be one of her knights. I quit.
There's a reason I'm now for a knight again. So eventually you become professor, and then obviously that's when you make your choice of which house you want to be the professor of, and yada yada yada. So we're going to start with the Black Eagles route because that's the one we're most familiar with and everything, and that's the one we went through, and then we'll dive into the other routes as we see fit.
Also, spoiler alert, Black Eagle route has two routes, and it can split.
Yes. I think that split, though, is... I don't know. I guess I don't know. But that split takes you to a different route entirely than the Black Eagles route. I don't know if it's the same on every single route. But
Black Eagle's the only route that it happens in.
Okay. So basically you get to learn about all the kids and everything. You see, like, you learn about like how they are, what their relationships are with each other and everything. Edelgard is basically like the next in line to be the emperor.
Yep.
And one of the things she's basically touting is that she hates this idea of like nobility and commoners. She wants to abolish that situation and make everyone kind of like essentially fend for themselves, and if you're strong you get to rise up to the top, and if you work for it you get to rise up to the top, like that. Also, she hates the church and wants to abolish it too. Which,
like, neither of those ideas are bad.
No, we were like early on we were like, yeah, I'm down with this.
Yep.
We picked the right route, obviously.
I mean, I liked both of those ideas. I'm like, yeah, those are pretty good ideas. I like her. All right.
You also learn pretty early on that like the church is shady, even after like Gerald's warning to you. Like, there's a thing where like you have to go fight some like deserters or whatnot, and like you literally bring them back to the monastery just to see them get executed.
Yeah, she just blatantly murders them right in front of you, and you're like, oh, oof,
yikes!
Didn't know that was gonna happen. Like, not even like a nice execution, a quick and dirty one. It's like pretty terrible one. No bueno.
Eventually you learn that like there's a underlying enemy force coming around. This person who is the Flame Emperor is like murking about. They have a person called the Death Knight who like stabs Booby Teacher.
And kidnaps Moldy Beard's little sister.
And like they find like another student there that had been missing for like a year.
Yep.
And I guess everyone just forgot about.
They're like, oh right, you were here.
Eventually you have to go find you have to go recover a stolen hero's relic. And you find it, and it basically reacts to you in
It's
a way that
"Oh,
everyone's like,
I am now your sword."
this is weird.
Yep.
Didn't think this would be a thing. Also, the thief of the relic turns into a monster.
Yeah.
Which makes everyone be like, what? I wonder what all these relics and crests mean. Also, everyone has like crests, which is like a thing that buffs you up.
Yeah, and if you don't have a crest, then you're kind of like considered a lesser person.
Right.
Usually I'm all about like commentary on class warfare, but like this one was not done very well.
Yeah. Eventually you have another fight against like the Death Knight, and you run into the Flame Emperor again. The Flame Emperor's like, hey, why don't you join me? And you're like, no, I'm good. And they're like, okay. Right here is where the story starts to get, I would say, predictable.
Yeah, we figured that out real quick.
We figured out exactly what was going on, which, I mean, it's not really like, it's not hiding it per se.
Yeah.
During that battle, when the Flame Emperor shows up, Hubert is like, where's Edelgard? Where did she go? Like, very blatantly. And then the Flame Emperor shows up. During the mission when Booby Teacher gets stabbed and all the kidnapping happens, she takes the teacher and is absent from the battle.
Yep.
So, like,
and then like immediately after the one battle where like the Flame Emperor shows up and has to join, the teacher talks to her later and is like, oh, this happened. She's like, would you be able to look in that person's face when they're unmasked and join them? And you're like, that's a weird question.
Yeah.
Why would you ask that?
It was pretty much then I was like waiting for you to get there, and I was like, so I think Edelgard's the Flame Emperor.
And I was like, yeah, she's definitely the Flame Emperor. Like they were not even, and we were kind of hoping that they wouldn't go that route because like it was so obvious, but they went that route.
Well, don't worry, they're gonna go that route and then completely drop it.
Yep, dropped completely. It doesn't matter. It never comes up again. It makes no sense why we even bother with that. Or like who the Death Knight was. Well, we know who he was, but we don't know why he was there. We don't know why he was working with her. We don't know anything. Like, why did he steal the Monica girl?
Like, essentially, all they explain of that, at least in this route, is Hubert basically has a conversation with the professor post time skip, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But he's like, yeah, like, so we basically use them for our needs, and we're still kind of using their power to kind of get where we want. That's kind of the long and the short of it. Like, we don't necessarily like them, but, you know, for what we need now, we kind of need them.
Yeah.
And then, like, you run into them occasionally throughout, like, the rest of the story, and basically none of it gets resolved.
Nothing.
None of it. But back to where we were.
She's the Flame Emperor.
She is not yet revealed as the Flame Emperor, but she's going to be the Flame Emperor.
Yeah.
There's a ball, and then you get to dance with some folks. Excuse me?
Yeah, Claude gets to dance.
He just yanks you on the dance floor, and you're like, okay, I guess I'm dancing.
Which remind me to talk about queer baiting.
Okay.
Because this game does some real bad queer baiting.
Uh-oh.
Ow, you were standing on my boob.
That's not about that.
No, I mean, I could talk about now if you wanted to, but I could too.
Let's save that. I'll get to time skip, and then we'll go into that.
Okay.
So bad things happen at the ball. Monsters attack. Gerald gets murdered by the student who had been kidnapped because, shocker, she's a bad person.
Bad person. Which also, that person's not explained at all.
Nope.
And I kept telling you, I was like, Gerald's gonna die.
Oh, yeah.
Gerald's definitely gonna die. Like, he tells you multiple times, like, you know, if anything ever happens to me, check my bookcase, or, you know, nothing's gonna happen, but just in case, like, it's like, buddy, stop throwing up those death flags. Like, that's how you die in a video game.
So you learn that she's a part of this, like, cult that's opposing the church. Also, there's, like, this librarian that worked at the monastery who's also a part of this. He becomes Solon. So eventually you have to go fight him. And you try and fight him, but then he sends you into, like, a plane of darkness, and he's like, oh, you're dead.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, this sucks. Fake Tiki shows up.
Yep.
Who's basically been inside you this whole time and, like, just has conversations with you, and is basically like, yeah, that Rhea chick seems real weird and shady. Anyways, hope you're doing okay. She reveals that she's like the goddess that everyone like worships,
Yep.
that the church worships and everything.
What's her name, like
And
Solus or something?
Sothis,
Sothis.
and basically to bring you back out of this like weird dark realm, she fuses with you and gives you the power to escape, and also turns your hair green and eyes change color as well. She
Lighter
also
green.
basically just disappears. She's not able to like talk to you anymore,
Nope.
except for like one time.
You get like mint green hair as opposed to dark green hair.
You do. You're like a mint chocolate chip cookie.
You
ice cream.
basically are. What does that look like on the dude? I'm just curious.
It's just you got green hair.
You had green hair before.
Well, it's like lighter green hair.
I'm just maybe
that during some of the cutscenes just looks white.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
So you come back and now you're like all powered up and stuff, and you beat Solon, but he's able to escape and everything. Once you come back and everything, and Rhea's like, oh, we're gonna have you do a thing with the goddess and everything. You're gonna talk to the goddess in the Holy Tomb. This is this place that no one knows about. So you go there, and she puts you on like this throne that Sothis was basically sitting on prior to that, because like you're like, oh, I know this place. And you sit there and nothing happens. She's like, why isn't anything happening? What's going on? I don't know, why is this not working? And then Edelgard shows up and he's like, hello, I'm the Flame Emperor. I'm here to attack you and steal your crests.
All the crests.
And she's like, I can't believe this. I hate you. So basically you have to take down Edelgard's army. And then at the end she gives you the choice of, hey, do you want to, or I guess before this, there's a choice where you talk to Edelgard and she'll be like, hey, do you want to come with me to go do something? And you have the choice to say yes or no. If you go with her, she literally goes up she goes back home and abdicates the throne. Becomes the emperor.
Her dad abdicates the throne.
Yes, her dad abdicates the throne. And she becomes the emperor. Which is kind of hush-hush, essentially. Because it's like, not many people are there, and she's like, oh, I'm the emperor now. All right, let's go back. And then all this happens. So after the battle, you have the choice. Rhea is like, murder her. So you have the choice of like, do you murder Edelgard or do you side with her? If you side with her, Rhea just gets real mad again.
Yep. And becomes like a dragony person.
And she transforms into a dragon.
You're like, oh god, that's bad. Which also, like, the one thing that was pretty funny about this game, and I think we've already like touched on it, is that like their weird like this decision will alter the game menu is like really, really weird looking.
It's very bizarre. Prior to all this as well, when Geralt gets murdered, you go find his diary, which obviously he told you about and everything. Yep. And in his diary, he kind of like tells about your birth.
You have no heartbeat.
You have no heartbeat, and also he basically caused a fire to make it seem like you died and get out of the church because he was in fear of what Rhea was going to do to you.
Yep.
Also, she hints at that she knows who like your mother was and everything, but doesn't come out and say it in this route. So all that's left in a mystery. So we sided with Edgelord.
Mm-hmm. We did not kill her.
We did not kill her, and then Rhea's like, oh, you're going to live to regret this. I can't believe this. Oh.
I love the idea of like Rhea just gets real mad, and like instead of, you know, normal things that happen when people are mad, she just like turns into a dragon. She's like, all right, I'm a dragon now. Oh shoot, I probably shouldn't have revealed that.
Mm-hmm. So eventually after that, you lead an assault on the monastery. Apparently, if you side with any of the others, you are helping the defense. But at the end, you will be knocked out unconscious, and then just casually wake up 5 years later.
Yep. No explanation
plot.
For this.
It's not good. It's a really dumb thing to have as a time skip.
Zero explanation for it.
Like it just does. Yeah, it's like, oh, you're out cold now. You've been in a coma for 5 years for no reason, and now you're back, and like. Everything's in the war.
But also, like, your body's fine and your mind's fine. Like, you don't have any issues or your muscles.
You still have your powers.
Even though you've been in a coma for 5 years. And also, just, like, nothing has happened in 5 years other than people grew up. But, like, the war has not made any progress whatsoever. because they're like, oh, she didn't know what to do without you. And it's like, are you joking? She's the emperor. Ah,
And like they basically just make the monastery their new home base for whatever reason, even though Edelgard's like, yeah, I want to tear down the idea of the church, but I'm just gonna stay here at this monastery which is basically was the church's headquarters.
yeah. And also, like, we're gonna keep doing the church rituals
We're gonna keep
because
doing the
of
church
course.
rituals. Also, just not even change anything about the monastery at all over the past 5 years. Like the banners for the three classes are still up. All of the previous banners 5 years ago are still up. Like we didn't really change anything. Like the churchy part,
The sanctuary.
the sanctuary is a little bit beat up, but other than that, everything's pretty much the same.
Yeah,
Which
it's
like
insane.
yeah, that
Although,
part really like I think breaks kind of the immersion for me because
yeah,
it doesn't make sense thematically or narratively like why they would use the monastery as like their home base and everything. Like why not just use like obviously it's like a good choke point for like getting access to all the different parts of the kingdom or like the country they're in, which is just fake Europe because they wanted to make a 1500s fake European war simulator.
yep.
Like it makes sense in that regard, but the idea of Edelgard being like, man, I hate this church and everything. Now I'm going to take their I guess that would kind of make sense to be like to stick it to them, be like, "Hey, I have your church now, suck it."
Yeah, but you wouldn't just leave it the same as it
you
is.
wouldn't leave it the same as it is, or just like not do anything to change it or anything. Like,
Keep doing the rituals
yeah,
and celebrating the holidays.
like I think this is where like the other part of the game that's really kind of broken comes into play, where it's like they didn't really want to make another area for you to run around in,
Nope.
and even then, like you would expect them to like update this area a little bit outside of just some damage here and there, but like
There's some damage and like a couple pieces of scaffolding, and that's it. And I'm like, oh my god, guys, really?
yeah, it doesn't. I don't think I don't think it works that well.
It does not work.
So yeah,
Although the best character, the amiibo gazebo, is still there.
thank God for the Amiibo gazebo.
God.
And then they also make you basically just instruct instruct the kids who are now older now,
Yeah.
like, and literally it's still called just like instruction and everything. Like I think you could have gotten away with doing this if like you literally just changed the wording of that to like this is our strategy sessions now.
Yeah, strategy sessions would have been much better. Instead, it's like, oh, you're still in school. You're still our professor. And it's like, what?
It's like literally 5 years have passed since you've been gone. They have literally clearly been able to work on their own, work on their strengths and weaknesses. They're adults. They know what they're doing. They know how they want to like go with their fighting abilities. You don't need to come back in and be like, all right, now I need to do this and this and this. Like obviously,
instruct you on how to use a sword.
yeah, like obviously, you kind of have to because that's the way the game wants you to level up everyone and give you the customization to make people into whatever class you want to do. But just the idea that like everyone just like readily comes back and is like, "Hello, professor. I don't know how to do this. I'm just dumb now." It's like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like there was literally okay. One of the dumbest questions I got was booby teacher came up to me one time and she was like, a lot of people are getting heavy into alcohol here. And it might be hindering us. And like the options were like, one was just like, everyone here is an adult, they can drink if they want. The other was like, maybe we could limit it. And the other was like, we all need to stop drinking alcohol. I picked the one who was like, we're all adults, we can drink alcohol if we want. And she was like, that was a bad answer. I was like, what? You're all adults here. You're like older than me. If you want to get blitzed before a mission, that's your prerogative.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can't do that. Like, that's not
Like,
my job.
You might die. If you want to do that, sure, have fun.
Everyone here is a adult.
It's irritating and it's bad.
Especially just makes that whole like area just obviously it makes it feel just more empty, but just like it makes it a little bit more tedious because you have less people to go talk to and like they're just more spaced out now.
Yeah.
So this is like a lot of running and then waiting for people to show up when I've got here before they've loaded in, waiting for doors to open and all that. Yeah. You wanted to talk about queer baiting.
Okay, so
I
yeah,
almost forgot about that.
it's an issue. This game is going off of Fates and does have some LGBTQ choices for datables. The issue is that there is some real bad queer baiting on the male side.
I've heard that
Because
like a lot of just like the way they kind of try and push forth the LGBT choices are bad,
they're bad.
and like
Um,
they're more from like a heteronormative like standpoint than what they should be.
yeah, a lot of the like lady on lady choices are still like really more for titillation than it is for like you genuinely feel like they love each other.
Right.
And one of the biggest issues with the male side is that there are um men that you can have S rank with on his side. One
Mm-hmm.
is Gilbert, I think his name is, and the other one is Alois.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can have S rank with them, and there are like talks that make it sound like it's a relationship type thing. But then like when you get to the ending of the game, like where you actually get the endings, it's like, oh, the male protagonist was married off to this random woman. And it's like, what?
That's
That's
bad.
that's real bad. And they're like, yeah, so and so like stayed with their wife and kids. And it's like, oh
Big oof.
God. Like if you are going to make them as options for an S rank, you better make them options and not be like, oh yeah, we can have this in here, but they're not actually going to date you, and instead like you're just going to marry some random person that's not even named, like, and she's a lady. Like that's not okay. You are forcing people into like a hetero relationship when they did not choose that.
Right.
That is not okay. And then like I understand that like Linhart's not for everybody, because he is the only option where there is like explicit romance and a ring and everything. Actually, one of the other ones has a ring too, but Linhart says explicitly like this is a sign of my affection. Like, will you take it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like essentially giving one option for an S rank on the male side, um, and the other ones being like a bait and switch essentially. That's not okay.
It's not good.
That's not okay at all. And a lot of people thought that with Claude coming to dance with the male protagonist in the dance scene, that would mean that he would be a dateable option. But they're like, no, he's straight. Sorry,
That dude is biased.
that dude is
I don't
biased.
care what they say. What they say. He's biased.
I mean, like, and he even says like some flirty stuff to you. Like, I've seen skits with him and the guy protagonist. Like, he flirts with you. And then they're like, nope, nope, he can only be with a lady. It's like, guys, really? You couldn't make like one of the dude choices for the three houses like somebody you could marry, really? Like you don't want to let us marry Dimitri? Why not? I mean, cool, I guess. And apparently, like one of the problems some people had is that you can't do like a marriage route with Dimitri and did Didu. I
The
don't remember
do.
Didu. Like if you A rank them or whatever, they're just like they traveled for the rest of their lives. It's like, oh, did they now? So like you can't really customize who's going to get together, and even then, like having choices is not a bad thing. And like I understand that it wouldn't make sense narratively to make everybody bi.
Mm-hmm.
It would make sense to be like, oh yeah, you're a guy, so you can marry anybody on here. But like having choices is not a bad thing, and it would not have like I'm sure it would have offended some people out there, but like it would not have been a bad thing to do. On the other hand, it's like I'm trying to remember who all the choices were for Lady Bailiff. I know that Edelgard's a choice, Dorothea's a choice. I think Mercedes is a choice. There was somebody else. But it just comes across as like disingenuous. As opposed to just like, hey, these are women who are actually in love with each other and they want to be in a relationship. And it's not just like for a straight gaze type thing.
Right.
So anyway, Fire Emblem again kind of fails at making this right.
Yeah.
I thought that they would do better after Fates kind of blew up on them with that, but
Nope.
We're just gonna make you fall in love with this one dude and then marry a lady at the end. Super not okay. Anyway, so you can marry your students.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. So we've gotten to the time skip.
Yeah, everybody's an adult now.
Everyone's an adult now, and everyone
they
hates
can drink
each other
alcohol.
in that war. I'm just gonna read what the Wikipedia says for the Black Eagles route, if that's all right.
That's fine.
Because it's pretty condensed. Protag reunites with their students in Edelgard and finds out that the kingdom has allied with the church while the alliance remains nominally neutral. Words are hard. So basically, Dimitri is holed up with Rhea, and
he's a cop.
He's a cop.
But in his defense, he no longer has spaghetti hair.
I mean, he has bad long hair, though.
I mean, his hair is better than it was. Originally, he had like weird spaghetti hair.
And then Claude has Lash LaRue sideburns, which
Oh,
obviously
God.
that's a reference you're not going to get. But
no, I don't get that. But
he was
like,
a wrestler who shaved his sideburns so they would both be L's because his name was Lash LaRue.
Oh my God, it looks like a half chin strap.
Yeah, I mean that's basically it.
Like it's just not on the chin. It looks really terrible. It looks really bad. I'm like, oh Claude, what did they do to you? You were cute before.
So yeah, so Dimitri is holed up with Rhea. He's a cop now, and Claude's just like playing both sides essentially.
Yep.
Here's my issue with this whole story in general is that obviously like 5 years have passed and everything and stuff's gone down.
Has it?
Fair. How did the students not come together and like Edelgard be like, yo, you guys realize the church is doing some real shady shit. This is real f***ed up. Because like they know each other clearly.
Yeah, and I mean like.
But no, we all have to go to war and kill each other because yay, conflict.
Also, spoiler alert, Edelgard and Dimitri are siblings. So like they could talk to each other.
Totally.
And have this conversation of like, hey, brother, that person you sided with, she kind of sucks. And this is all the terrible stuff she's done. Also, she's a dragon. So like maybe you should not side with her. And then he'd be like, oh, I'm a reasonable human being. I understand your point of view. And then doesn't side with the evil dragon lady.
It's true. Like they're all very friendly with each other when they're students and know each other. Like people can communicate with each other even in times of war. I would like to go back to one of the key things we brought up a lot when we were doing Jared and I watch Sailor Moon Crystal, and that is communication is a key to relationships of all kinds.
It is. Wow, imagine that communication is important.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest with each other.
We have to have all of them go to war with each other because that's good plot. And also you get to murder all these kids you knew because you were not good enough to recruit them in time.
Right. And I think that's the big thing that like we've talked about before. You get punished because you weren't able to recruit people and you have to like go through and murder these kids that you like talk to a lot in the school, and it's like, oh my God. Like
I get that like on one hand it presents the realities of the horrors of war.
It does.
It does.
But does it
totally.
do it well?
I don't think it does it well because for the most part, it's just being like, hey, you didn't recruit this person, so now you have to murder them because you didn't have the right skills to get them in time.
Right.
And also, this is a war that totally could have been avoided.
Yep.
Sorry you got your rocks off because you wanted to recreate the early days of Europe and how everyone had hate boners for each other and wanted to go to war every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I said at one point to you in a text that, like, with the way this game is going, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we take a hard dive into colonialism.
You did text me that, and I laughed because it seemed like it would be the case.
I mean, it honestly seemed like it was going to happen at some point, but regardless, I digress.
I was actually a little concerned with like the Alliance people that it was going to become more of like a colonialism aspect with them, but we avoided that in this route anyway.
It's true. Okay. Edelgard plans to eliminate the Alliance before moving on to the Kingdom.
For some reason.
Protag is able to quickly seize the Alliance capital and eliminate Claude from the war, either through killing him or exiling him. You know, you could exile him.
He didn't even have to be exiled. He's just like, you know what? I'm just going to leave. And it's like, why? Why are you leaving? Why don't you join us?
Because we can't have that.
He's like, no, I'm out.
Because bad writing. They then advance into the kingdom, taking a vital fortress. However, Edelgard's uncle Arundel arranges for the fortress to be destroyed as revenge for Edelgard interrupting his own plans. They basically describe this character, Arundel, as the dude who was kind of bankrolling the other, like the shady folks.
Yep.
Like the former librarian of the monastery.
Those who slither in the dark is their official title, which is a terrible name, by the way.
It's real bad. Like, you should work on your presentation and marketing.
Yeah.
Edelgard is aware of Arundel's treachery, but keeps it secret and tells the others that the fortress was destroyed by an illegal church weaponry. Undeterred, Edelgard continues to lead her armies to the kingdom's capital. Dimitri heads out to meet Edelgard head-on, but is defeated and dies in battle, where she just cuts his head off.
I was say, he doesn't die in battle. She murders him.
She straight beheads him.
Yeah. Also, like, Dedue becomes a big monster.
Dedue becomes a big monster and also is like, yeah, I gave a bunch of our people crests because gotta win somehow. And yep. Dimitri's like, dude, what the f***?
And then gets beheaded.
My dude.
She beheads her brother.
The Kingdom army is routed.
For Europe.
Yep. The Kingdom army is routed and Rhea withdraws to the Kingdom capital with her knights. In her madness, Rhea sets fire to the city, forcing Edelgard to attack and put a stop to her. Working together, Protag and Edelgard are able to kill Rhea by just both slicing her head or her neck. Protag apparently dies, but the crest stone embedded in their heart dissolves, reviving them. In the aftermath, Edelgard unites all of Fodlan under the Empire and abolishes both the church and the nobility. She then turns her attention to those who slither in the dark. And by turns her attention to, they basically are like, yeah, we'll go after them next. And then the game ends.
Yep. It made no sense.
Like, I was expecting that, you know, once you get done with Rhea, like, that's going to be, like, the end game. Like, you're going to go after them and put a stop to them finally.
Yep.
But no.
Nope.
That's not how it works.
She just turns her attention to them, and then, like, it makes no sense at all. And, like, the whole thing with the heart is not explained.
It's just like, oh, you got a thing in your heart. Cool.
Yeah.
Which, again, like, there are parts of this, you know, we are questioning. Perhaps these are explained in other routes. Like, that is totally a possibility. But as a game that presents you, like, you know, you're going to go through this the first time through one route. And then it's trying to bankroll the fact that, like, you're going to be intrigued enough to go back and play the other routes. You know, this didn't do a lot for me to go back and say, hey, I really want to go play those next routes now.
Nope.
It just seems like, man, they left a lot of plot holes, and that seems real bad.
Yep.
Anyways,
you can leave secrets in a game, but then still make it like you want to play the other routes. Like, look at the Zero Escape series.
Totally.
The way that they handle it is really, really great.
And they even, like, do a great job of, like, you know, once you've played through the game and are coming back to it a second time, like, there are secrets hidden throughout the main story that you wouldn't pick up on the first time through and are now picking up on. And you're like, oh, okay, that makes this even better. Like, they leave plot holes, obviously, but they are designed for you to go back and keep diving further and further. And, like, they're intriguing plot holes in a way. Which I think compared to this, it's just like a lot of the plot holes, they just felt tired, and I was like, ugh. Like, I felt like a lot of the plot holes could have been just rectified in this route specifically. Like, I don't understand how they would be really wrapped up in a different plot line. Like, I don't see how this one specifically is going to be wrapped up in a different plot line.
Yeah,
So I don't
understand like,
why they would just like leave this unless they're like, oh, well, this is going to be DLC. It's like, I can't be bothered to pay you more money for this. Come on.
no, like, oh, cool. We need explanation of like happened with her heart and what it did to her and all that. But like, no, we're not gonna get that. And this would have been the perfect route to explain that because you're literally talking about how corrupt she is. But hey, whatever.
Well, let's go down the Golden Deer route, which seems to go into some weird routes.
Oh joy. What does it do?
Protag reunites with Claude, who has been waiting for their return. Protag and Claude occupy Garreg Mach and rally the students and the remnants of the church to stand against the Empire. Gathering additional allies and support, Protag and Claude directly invade the Empire. However, as they confront Edelgard and her forces, a kingdom army led by Dimitri also arrives, resulting in a massive three-way battle. Edelgard is forced to retreat while Dimitri is killed attempting to pursue her. Protag and Claude press on towards the strategic Empire fort and receive aid from the foreign nation of Almir.
Wait, who is she killed by?
I don't know.
Okay.
However, the fort is destroyed by a rain of missiles before they can seize it, and the Almirons decide to withdraw. Claude admits that he had secretly opened relations with the Almira, announces his desire to open Fodlan's borders to the outside world, and end the continent's self-imposed isolationism. Sounds like the United States of America before World War II.
Yeah, wow.
Protag and Claude continue their advance attacking the Empire capital. Edelgard is defeated and killed, but Protag and Claude learn of those who slither in the dark, who have been secretly manipulating the war to destroy Fodlan. Rhea confirms their existence of the group, and Protag and Claude set out to stop them. Why would this be the one where you go out and stop them? They defeat those who slither in the dark, and their leader, Talus, attempts to destroy them with another rain of missiles. Rhea turns into her dragon form and intercepts the missiles, but is gravely wounded in the process. Meanwhile, Nemesis, an ancient bandit king who was defeated by Saros, awakens in a secret tomb. Protag and Claude are forced to destroy Nemesis and his undead army. In the aftermath, Fodlan is united under Claude's rule as he opens its borders and starts relations with foreign nations.
What?
Yep, that's how it ends. Welcome to Fire Emblem Undead Nightmare.
But also, like, there's just they mentioned Nemesis like twice in Edelgard's route, and now we have like, oh right, by the way, this like undead dude is coming back. It's like, what?
Well, you see him in like the very like one of the opening cutscenes because they show that precursor to like the 500 years ago war where all this
it
all that
does.
comes down and everything.
But
yeah, that's
like,
that's
all right.
something. Granted, of course, these are literally like a paragraph long synopses of these routes, so like some of this stuff is going to be better explained within the route itself, but at the same time, like, what?
Yeah, that's kind of an odd thing, like to have one on his route and two, like those who slither in the dark is fixed on this route. What?
That doesn't make any sense.
No sense. Also, like, it kind of is weird that Dimitri is just like killed by question mark while pursuing Edelgard.
Yep. He's just gone.
Okay, sure, I guess.
Well, you want to talk about some blue lions?
Yeah, let's talk about some blue lions. Let's talk about Dimitri.
Protag reunites with Dimitri, who has been ousted from the kingdom due to a coup from pro-Empire nobles. In the time since, Dimitri has become bitter, disillusioned, and dangerously unstable as he is haunted by visions of his deceased family and driven to get revenge on Edelgard at any cost. Protag students and the remnants of the church ally with Dimitri, and they decide to use Garreg Mach as their base to attack the Empire. Dimitri eventually forces a massive battle between his own army, the Empire, and the Alliance, resulting in heavy losses on all sides. One of Dimitri's trusted retainers sacrifices himself to protect him from an assassin, which in combination with Protag's guidance finally causes Dimitri to realize his desire for revenge is futile.
Does that mean Dedue dies?
That sounds like Dedue.
Oh, Dedue, no.
Poor Dedue.
Does he have a good time in any route?
Probably not.
Poor Dedue.
Instead, he decides to focus on saving Fodlan and liberates the kingdom from imperial rule, assuming his rightful place as king. With his own land secure, Dimitri marches for the Empire capital itself. Wanting to make peace with Edelgard, Dimitri arranges a meeting with her and suggests that they join forces to realize their goals. Edelgard refuses to work with Dimitri, forcing him to attack. He's able to defeat Edelgard once again and offers her mercy, but is forced to kill her when she attempts to attack him. In the aftermath, Fodlan is united under the kingdom of Dimitri as its ruler, with Protag becoming the new archbishop of the church when Rhea voluntarily steps down.
What?
That sounds gross.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. Why would you become archbishop? No.
You didn't listen to your dad.
Why would Rhea just step down? Why would she willingly give up that power?
Again,
bad
probably
writing.
Explained better, but also who knows.
Oh my god, why would you become archbishop?
And then finally, there is the Church of Saros route.
Yep.
Protag reunites with their students and learns that Rhea has gone missing, and the church has lost most of its strength. Again, this is the route that can diverge from Black Eagles, like we mentioned earlier. Protag agrees to help stop the war and save Fodlan. First, they retake Garrick Bach and use it as a base to launch attacks against the Empire. The church receives assistance from Claude and learns that Rhea has been captured by the Empire. Dimitri takes the opportunity to attack the Empire as well. As the church builds up its forces, the Empire, Kingdom, and the Alliance engage in a three-way battle. With all sides suffering heavy casualties, Dimitri is apparently killed and Claude goes missing. Protag and their students attempt to capitalize on the moment to seize a strategic fort, but it is destroyed by a rain of missiles, forcing them to withdraw. Protag changes tactics and instead infiltrates troops into the Empire capital. Protag defeats and executes Edelgard and rescues Rhea. They then learn of the threat from those who slither in the dark. Protag and their forces head to the main base of those that slither in the dark, where they learn that they are the remnants of the nation of Agartha, a technologically advanced civilization that was wiped out by Saros in ancient times. Defeated, the Argothan leader Talus calls down numerous missiles to destroy his own base. Rhea turns into her dragon form to protect Protag and the others, but is gravely wounded. Rhea admits to Protag that she implanted a creststone in Protag's heart, both to save their life and in hopes of reviving Sothis. However, in her weakened state, Rhea loses control of her powers and goes berserk, forcing Protag to kill her. In the aftermath, the Empire, Kingdom, and the Alliance are dissolved, and Fodlan is unified under the church with Protag as its new ruler.
Oh, God. I don't like this.
I feel like none of these routes are what I want from this game.
No.
And what I want from this game is everyone coming together and realizing, yo, the church is up. We should take down the church.
So, one of the things that we've talked about is that, like, the Black Eagles route, when you stay with Edelgard, it's constantly trying to make you feel like you're a villain.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, but are we? Like, getting rid of this church is, like, a good idea, and also like that nobility thing kind of sucks.
Because like, especially like Gerald is like, hey, don't trust Rhea.
Yeah.
In his book, he's like, don't trust Rhea. She has done some things. I had to literally fake your death to get away from her. Don't trust her.
Yeah.
And
you're
then like,
oh, I'm gonna go become part of this church.
And especially because like, you know, her idea of like, I put a creststone in your heart to try and revive the goddess, like that just seems literally insane.
Yeah, that's messed up.
And like you said, like the idea of tearing down, you know, a corrupt organization, like the way the church has been, obviously, and just like tearing down the idea of nobility and, you know, class systems, like none of that sounds bad. All that sounds actually pretty all right. But the way the game kind of sets you up post time skip is like, it really makes it out to seem like you are the villain in this now.
Yeah. And
like over time, it kind of like, it feels like it deviates away from that a little bit. But it's so weird that like this is supposed to be like the bad guy route when in all honesty, like it doesn't. Like I don't know like what that says about this game's politics or anything. But one of the things I mentioned to you is like once we got past the time skip is like this game's ideology and my ideologies are really in conflict with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just don't understand why that's the thing. And just the idea that all these routes is just like, well, we introduce these three main characters. Two of them are probably going to die on all of these routes.
Yeah.
Like there's no literal like route where you could have a unified front with each other. And that seems like it should be the option in general.
Yeah.
Because again, like
have
like
a
we
true
talked
ending
about.
of sorts.
Yeah. Like the idea that you would literally take like all the cautionary like things from Gerald and be like, yeah, I'm going to go join the church and everything and do all that. Like that doesn't seem like the way this character would be set up in the slightest.
Mm-mm.
But I don't know.
It's frustrating. And I think that's like the key word for most of this game for me is
Mhm.
just frustrating. Like it felt like people were making decisions that made zero sense, and there were just things happening that I was like, why? Why is this happening? Why can't I do anything about this? Like, I don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
It was frustrating, and then New Game Plus made it even more frustrating.
I think to me, like I said earlier on, like I think like this game would be better if they take these characters and just put them in a completely different story. Because the story here is just it doesn't work.
It's a mess. It really is.
And
And I mean,
I
like,
don't know how much of that is literally just like the idea that they're combining 4 routes together into one game, and like how much of that like really just wears thin the actual writing, because you're coming up with literally 4 different scenarios that all in all honesty could be its own separate game, because literally this game took us like what, at least 40 hours.
yeah, I put over 50 in it.
Like that's a lot of writing for a team to do, and that's going to stretch you thin when you're literally putting together 4 full games worth of scenarios together.
But also, like, Fire Emblem team, can we stop splitting the stories up? Because it's really getting irritating and it burns out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hate it.
I know there are going to be people who are very excited to go back and replay this game, and that's fine. I'm not going to knock them or anything. Like
No.
I'm totally happy that you have this game and that like it is the game you want and you want to replay it over and over again. Like that's rad. But for someone like me, like I'm not necessarily interested in replaying the game because, like I said, tactics games aren't my thing. And also just like I don't have the time to replay this game 3 more times. I don't have the time to put 120 more hours into this game.
Yeah, no, same. I can't do it. I just, ugh. Like the thought of that makes me really irritated.
There's a lot of people who like, will give games flack for like being like shorter experiences, like, oh man, this game's 8 hours. That's terrible. I mean, to us nowadays, like, we're older. We don't have all the free time in the world. Like that sounds pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm still a big fan of like a big in-depth RPG and all that. And I'll still play
Totally.
them, but like, we played Wolfenstein Youngblood and we talked about last week, and
Mm-hmm.
like that was a short game experience and it was also very flawed, but like we had fun and it was over.
Totally.
And that was fine. Because we're like, all right, cool. Like we did it. We got through it. And like it didn't feel like a chore anymore.
Mm-mm.
Like this one, by the end of it, I was like, oh God, do I really have to run around this monastery again and talk to everybody again? Like I just want it to be over with. And like I am a sleepy person and I work a full-time job, and like you are super busy all the time, and we don't have time to put all that in there. And like it's just, especially when we're not like, what's the point?
Right.
And that's ultimately the thing, is that like video games are supposed to be fun and they're supposed to be like exciting. And I, by the end of this, was like, no, I don't get any of that.
But what about tea time?
Oh boy.
So yeah, like
And Sylvain telling me he'll never look at another girl again. He said he will blind himself, and my response was like, that's taking it a little too far.
Jesus.
Yeah. It was cute though. He did a cute proposal. Like I said, the whole reason that I dated him to begin with is because I was like, you're the oldest one on my squad. Which also, he was only on my squad at first because like I kept thinking that he was one of the like OG squad, but I recruited him like the first day because he's like, oh, you're a
Mm-hmm.
lady, cool, can I join your team?
And I thought I had done something wrong because like, you recruited him immediately. And I was like, I can't recruit this guy. What did you do?
Had boobs.
Yeah, I did not have the boobs.
You had a lack of boobs.
I had a lack of boobs.
Lack of the Himmerhammers.
Lack of the hammer hammers.
But
So
Yeah, I married him because he was 20 at the beginning. I was like, all right, that makes me feel less terrible. Why are you stepping on my organs?
because that's what he does.
It's true. He loves to trample the organs.
So Fire Emblem, it is a thing.
It's a thing. It honestly though, like I was excited for this game
Mm-hmm.
and I should have just like thought about it more of like, hey, you didn't like Fates. You got burnt out on Fates because they kept making you do the same thing over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game that's also going to make you do the same thing over and over and over. Why do you think that you're going to like this one?
Because times have changed.
Yeah, well, it wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
I'm glad that some people got what they wanted, but
A lot of people seem to have like I'm kind of jealous of people who like are very into this game because they have clearly found something in it that I definitely didn't.
Yeah, and I mean that's one thing that I kept asking you, like, what are we doing wrong? Everybody seems to love this and we don't, and I don't understand what we did. And you're like, maybe we picked the wrong route. And I was looking it up and it's like her route is the most like popular of the routes. I'm like, okay, so it's not that. Like,
But even then, like from what we just read from those synopses of the other routes, I don't necessarily think it's the route anymore.
yeah.
I think it's just in general this game does not have good writing. But also I like to think of it that like we somehow got tricked into playing a different game and everyone else has just been enjoying Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
I mean, I would buy that because Tokyo Sessions is a fantastic game and everybody should play it. And it's a way better game than this.
All right, here we go. Here is my official Fire Emblem rankings.
Okay.
Number 1, Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest Fire Emblem game ever made.
Sharp Effie.
Number 2, Fire Emblem Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
The second greatest Fire Emblem game ever made. The best game with Fire Emblem in the title.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you technically have the FE at the end of Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
But it actually says Fire Emblem.
Yeah, fair.
And Warriors. Number 3, Smash Brothers. It's a lot of Fire Emblem characters in there.
A lot of Fire Emblem characters.
Number 4, the first 2 to 3 hours I played of Fire Emblem Awakening like 3 times.
Yep.
And then number 5, this.
Oof. What about the one that you played on NES?
I don't remember. I played it for like 15 minutes.
Oh, then that doesn't count.
And then it was hard, so I was like, and it was all in Japanese, so like I can't count that.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count.
But I think it was literally it was Echoes, but not the 3DS version. It was the game that inspired that remake.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, honestly, both of us had way more fun with Fire Emblem Warriors than we did with this game.
Honestly, yeah.
Like, a lot more fun.
I would say that definitively.
And the writing is better in that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy. It's a Musou game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, the whole time I was just like, Tokyo Mirage Sessions did everything in this better. Like the social elements, much better. I didn't have the like creepy professor nonsense going on. Like you didn't really have dateables per se in Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but like you could hang out with your pals.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a much better game. And I really wanted this game to be good. And like you said, I had the same feeling of disappointment of like, are we playing a different game? Like, where is everybody getting like these feelings of joy from this game that I'm not getting? And like, I feel like at first something was wrong with me. And then when you were also
I completely understand that.
Then I was like, okay, maybe there's something wrong with me and Jared. But at least I'm not alone.
We will be, everyone else can be over there celebrating how much they enjoy Three Houses, and we'll just be on the sides like, hey, you guys heard about Tokyo Mirage Sessions? That game's great.
How about Fire Emblem Warriors? Have you heard about
Fire
that
Emblem
one?
Warriors is also really great.
Yeah, wow, really good. So
I believe you mean the number 9 best game of 2017, Fire Emblem Warriors.
Those are such good games, guys. They're really good games. And I would hands down put 60 hours into either of them before I played another route of this game.
So there you go. There is the lone dissenting, disapproving opinion. Not disapproving, but just more.
It's disappointing.
Less than pleasing opinion of Fire Emblem Three Houses.
All right. Well, there's two of us at least, so it's a unified front in this podcast.
We're not going to win any unified fronts compared to everyone else.
No, we're not. But, sometimes you just got to try.
But hey, if you like it, more power to you.
I'm glad that you liked it.
I'm glad you have a game that you could literally spend you could literally sink 160 hours into. Like, that's not a dig or anything.
Everybody got what they wanted from it.
Totally. I don't want people to come away from this thinking like, oh, you're a bad person if you like this game. Like, no, dude, what you want.
No, I mean, I like games that people are like, oh God, why do you like that? It's like, I don't know. And so like what you like. We're not saying that you're a bad person if you like this. We're just saying that we didn't like it that much and that there were issues that were like frustrating.
Totally.
And really that's what we're trying to get across here is that like these are our personal opinions on the game. And we even like talked about it beforehand, knowing like, oh, this is probably gonna be like a really unpopular opinion. But I'm real happy for the people who liked it. I really am. Mm-hmm. You got feet, guys. You finally got feet.
You got feet. But also, if you haven't played Tokyo Mario Sessions or Fire Emblem Warriors, play those games. They're really good.
They're really, really good.
They're really good.
I mean, have you heard of them? Because you should hear about them and you should play them.
You really should. Tokyo Mario Sessions for Switch when? Atlas, this is on you now.
Atlas,
it's on you. Stop being cowards and put it out on Switch.
Do it, Atlas. Has Nintendo said they'll do it?
No, like it was just the Fire Emblem guy who was like, yeah, that's an Atlas thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Atlas.
It's on them to put it out, so.
Atlas, do the thing. Make a good decision in your life.
Make a good decision for once.
Yeah, like put it on the Switch. It would be perfect and it would be amazing and it would just make my entire life. I just really want to play it again and don't want to have to like use my Wii U right now.
I want to play it again and not have to send in my Wii U for repairs to get it to play it, and then also have my save be lost.
They were able to recover my save file.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they wouldn't. But also, I just don't want to have to call them and then get my Wii U repaired just to play it again. It's a lot of steps just to play Tokyo Mario Sessions again.
But that said, it is a great game, and it's worth you fixing your Wii U for.
It totally is.
Hey guys, have you heard about Tokyo Mario Sessions? You should play that game. It's a really good game.
They sing the Fire Emblem theme in it. It's really good.
They do. Which I will say that was one thing that made me laugh the first time that I heard it was the bell for the school is the Fire Emblem theme.
Smart.
It was clever. But yeah, like legit, I just keep thinking about Tokyo Mario Sessions and how good of a game it was. It was like, that's better than Persona 5, so that was my Persona 5, and now it's my Fire Emblem Three Houses. Like, it's better than that too.
Just keeps replacing things.
It does. Like, between that and Trails of Cold Steel, I'm like getting my goodness from other places. This is great.
Well, Trails of Cold Steel 3, if it holds up to the same quality as the other two, will probably replace this as well because you are a teacher in that.
You're a teacher, yes.
So there you go.
And you know what? That would never be an issue in this. You would not date your students. Reen is better than that.
I hope not.
Okay. I hope not too. Reen, be better.
Well, I think that's going to wrap this episode up.
Yeah.
We have left the three houses. We are moving on. Mm-hmm. So if you'd like more from us, go to seasonalcheckup.com or sac.cool. It's where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Seasonal Checkup and Jared Now Watch. You can find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Next week, I have literally no idea.
I have no clue.
Haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Nope.
But we'll have something for you.
Want a nap, honestly.
Al, you always want a nap.
That's fair. That's a super valid statement.
So we'll hit you up with something cool next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Please don't be mad at us.
If you get mad at us, I will fight you.
Me too.